It's a classic puck review.
With the Jet Beta and Robbie too.
It's a classic puck review.
We'll hop in ice and booty, show a game for you.
So tip up your sticks and lace up your skates. No matter the element, matter the place.
Classic puck review.
So many hot takes, no topics taboo.
Classic puck review.
From Gretzky to Orr, Robbie Hull to Lemieux.
Performing CPR. A Lehman Sports Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of CPR Review. It's been a long time coming, but we are finally here for Season 2, boys. I'm Robbie Cameron. Got Derek Brissett, Michael Beta. First podcast of Season 2, lads. How are you guys feeling about being back in the saddle?
Fantastic, man. Yeah, it's great to be back. It's been almost half a year since it's not for saying that we haven't all socialized on Zoom since that time, but it's nice to kind of get back to work and do these again. It was a great part of our Friday evenings all throughout the spring and into most of the summer. And I guess this is the 20th episode in total that we've done. So it's nice to pick up this routine again under new lockdown, emergency, stay-at-home measures. What else are we going to do?
Yeah. What say you, Derek?
Yeah, but it's really nice that you finally made some time for me and Robbie in your super busy schedule, because you had the crazy social life going on during what was supposed to be a lockdown, by the way. So I don't know what you were doing on Friday night. Apparently far too busy for me and Robbie. Though it feels good to be back recording one of these. Actual NHL hockey came back this week. The World Juniors kind of happened and stuff. That was cool. Hopefully, if anybody picked a game in which trash cans are involved, that would be an interesting way to loop in the World Juniors too. But I don't think that happened. But I'm just happy actual NHL pro hockey's back. So excited to just hockey being back is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I'm excited to be talking to you guys again. Not like I said, like you guys said, not that we haven't been talking, but it's different finally being able to record and like actually talk about hockey and kind of a semi-professional environment. Like, we're not pros by any means, as you can tell by my ugly looking couch behind me. But I mean, we've all got our jerseys on. We're all repping, even though Beta, you're repping some random team right now. You're a Habs fan. What are you doing with another jersey on, by golly?
I got a lot of about a week ago, it was the anniversary of the famous 1979-80 Flyers 35 unbeaten game streak with the boy Pete Peters. Is it Pete Peters jersey? I got it at a flea market with Joel a couple years ago, and it smelled really bad when I bought it. But Pete Peters was amazing during that streak, so I kind of had to show him some love today.
Okay, shout out Joel.
Shout out Joel.
What do you got on there, Derek?
I have a jersey from the first game that I'm going to pick in this draft. So
Well, with that said, to start off, we got a good old-fashioned snake draft for you guys. And Beta, this was your baby, so go ahead, kind of tee it up for us. Break down the rules. What kind of inspired the idea of this?
Yeah, last season we did 16 or 17 classic games and then a couple special episodes where we ranked our own favorite players by position. But this season I figured 10 episodes is kind of a healthy number to strive for. It will take our time, do it over the course of the next couple months. We each pick 3 here. So I guess including this little discussion where we pick plus 3 games for each of the 3 of us, that'll give us 10 episodes. And it's a reasonable number, 19. We kind of just were going by the spur of the moment from the seat of our pants last season, just suggesting games that we could find. When we originally got together, the first episode we ever did, we were all in person before the COVID pandemic kind of forced us to do it from Zoom and from our respective homes for the rest of the series, in which we couldn't really get down to watching some games we had on special file or on DVDs. We did episodes, kind of tribute episodes to Henri Richard, Ted Lindsay, special episodes on Howe, Gretzky, or Lemieux. Here, I think it's going to be a little bit more structured, a little bit more research. We're going to do this draft, and we have a snake draft order. So you never know, maybe a pick I have is something that you also want to cover, which will be great. That way it's all mutual. We like this game. We can take our time prepping, doing research. So I just figured it also gives a little tease to our beloved viewers as well. They know what's coming down the road. Not that the games we pick in any order will be how we air them or cover them or analyze them, but these 9 following games that we will decide amongst the 3 of us will be, what season 2 is composed of and what it entails.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, cool. Listen, when you suggested it, I really like the idea. I was really thinking and Derek kind of said this before we went on air, 70 years of broadcast television broadcasting this game. Somehow, some way, because I have 6, we're only supposed to choose 3, but I have 6, so I have 3 backups. So if somehow, some way, you bastards manage to pick something that is mine, I feel like that's harder to do than being struck by lightning if we just went outside right now.
Yeah, no, Beta seems worried about it for some reason. I'm like, there's no way. It's not gonna happen. And if it does, that's the first game we do, because clearly we apparently really, really want to watch that game. So if anybody does pick the same game as someone else, that has to be the next episode.
I love it. So our order we have going, we'll have Beta going first, Derek will be second, and then I'll round off the first round, and then we'll swing back to me, and then again back to Derek, to Beta, swings back to Beta, back to Derek, and I'll end us off. So with that said, Mr. Beta, feel free to start us off with the number 1 pick.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you randomized your draft order about 20 minutes before we pressed record, I was thrilled that I was first, but also there's a lot of pressure, obviously. We've got to pick a good game. Not, like I said, not that this will be the actual premiere of the season, but a game that
don't pick the Alexander Dag of games.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bobby Schmatz of games. A game that I'm grateful is easy enough to find, that we neglected to respect it over the course of last season, but has to be done this season, of course, is Game 8 of the 1972 Summit Series. Paul Henderson, historic goal to win the 8th and final game in the first kind of best-on-best tournament, friendly Summit Series between the USSR and Team Canada. Next year, celebrating its 50th anniversary. I don't know what kind of shenanigans, what kind of celebrations. Hopefully it's safe enough, of course, by September 2022 to get all the players that are still around. I know we've lost a few of them, but yeah, this game, we could say so much about it, and I'm going to shut up because I want to keep a lot of these thoughts for when we do it, but I'll be damned if that game at least didn't cross your minds, fellas. I know Derek's wearing a Team Canada sweater because he's got a Team Canada game up his sleeve. Whether or not it's that, who knows? But I am thrilled to make that my first pick overall in the draft. 1972 Game 8 Summit Series, baby. Cornouaille.
Well done, good sir. I kind of had a feeling that game was going to get chosen. I don't know if Derek had that on his list, so I didn't even
look at the Summit Series, in all honesty.
I kept that off my list.
I was literally like, the 70s, I was like, that's too much Beta's era of 70 classic things. So I was like, and Beta talks about wanting to do a Summit Series episode all the time. So I was like, I'll steer clear of that. It's not like I can sit here and chirp the pick of the Summit Series. It's
a consensus number 1 pick. You have to choose it. You got your
I know.
It's like having Sidney Crosby right there. You just need to pluck it, put it in your pocket, win a couple of cups. Here you go. Great pick, Beta. Great pick.
Exactly. Good pick. I feel like our thought processes are going to be very different, though. So I'm going up second. So my pick will be a Canada game, as you can tell by the attire. So we're going to the 2004 World Cup of Hockey, Canada versus the Czech Republic. And I'm picking this game for the sole reason that even though I was 12 years old, to this day, the absolute best hockey game I have ever been to. So
you
that's
went to it.
So you were there.
Went to the game. Me, my dad, and my brother, we went. My dad had some sort of Team Canada flex pack thing or whatever the ticketing was at the World Cup that year. And so me, my dad, and my brother went to every Canada game at this tournament. And when they got to the semifinals, they played the Czech Republic, and the game is absolutely bonkers. Just back and forth the whole time. Canada's roster from the World Cup this year, you got Mario, this Joe Sakic, Jerome McGinley, Kirk Maltby, Scott Hannon, just obviously all the
Don't
legends
forget
of the
those two
game.
guys, Maltby
Yeah,
and
Scott
Hannon.
Hannon.
Yeah, exactly.
You need him.
Scott Hannon, exactly.
No game is
Exactly.
classic without Scott Hannon.
No, man. Hey, we haven't done a Scott Hannon game yet, so I mean, I feel like it's time to bring in some Scott Hannon to this podcast. The Czechs countered with Yager, Caberlet, Vokun, Eliash. And yeah, it's just an absolutely unreal game, and it's one of the best, I guess, hockey memories that I have. Attending the World Cup in general. This was one of my dad actually got us all like kind of custom jerseys. So like I said, I was 12, so this is the one my dad actually wore that I threw on here because now it fits me because I've grown up beyond 12. So I don't know, it's just a really cool memory. It's one of my favorite times I can remember actually watching hockey, and we have access to the full game. So I figure let's dive into the World Cup when the World Cup still really mattered and was important.
Yeah. Hideous trophy, though. Hideous trophy.
The ugliest trophy probably in sports, yes.
Ugliest trophy by far. Yeah, I like that pick, too. Because
it kind of looks like this.
You're right. It does look like that.
Yeah.
It's a great pick
it's a glass.
because not only is there a sentimental attachment, you literally have something on from that era of hockey, and it's a great game. It's got great players. It's a great tourney. It's at a time now and I guess we'll dive into that when we actually do it. So I'm not going to talk about it too much, but yeah, great pick. I like it. Hey, you guys have set the standard. The bar is high right now, guys. How are you feeling after 2 picks?
I can't wait for you to lower the bar, man. You're gonna lower the bar here.
I'm definitely going to lower the bar.
I'm waiting for Rob. I know Robbie's going to be like, yeah. So the
Mighty Panthers, Mighty Ducks, 2002
game 22 of the 01 season, just a random game. So no
exhibition game.
So to cap off our first round here, I think it's going to be very telling because this is kind of my wheelhouse of hockey. My favorite. I always talk about the 90s. And funny enough, I'm trying to think. I don't have any 90s hockey whatsoever on my list. So I was trying to figure out how I could kind of bogart some 90s hockey in, but I didn't do it. I just went with what I felt as a hockey fan. I grew up. And these 3, hopefully they don't get picked, are the 3 games that really stuck out to me in this era of hockey. So I went kind of era specific, although the game, we'll see. It kind of changes up in this decade. But my first overall pick will be Game 7 of the 2009 Stanley Cup between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Detroit Red Wings. Multiple reasons.
That's a good game.
I know, like, obviously, it's a repeat of the 2008 Stanley Cup, which was a great series. So it was great to see the young core of the Penguins get back the next year against kind of the old guard. Not that the Red Wings were all that old at that time, but, in their prime, elite players, Zetterberg, Datsuk, etc. Of course, the GOAT Lindstrom there too. Greatest defenseman of all time, in my opinion. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's got a tremendous finish too, very climactic finish to the series as a whole. Ends with a great save, frantic kind of setup and finish, and of course we all know who wins, but at the end of the day, it's great to see one of the greats finally get his first. I will keep the name out of there and keep it somewhat a surprise. Although the Summit Series, I mean, at this point, if we don't know who won that, then are we really Canadian, or are you really even a hockey fan? So that's my first pick, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, guys. What do you think about our first round? About how I ended that off? I love the game. I think it's a great game. I think it was a great series too.
Oh, no, it's a great game. It's a great series. I think my favorite part of that, looking back on it, was Marian Hossa being on the losing side of a back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals, despite being, and then he ultimately he ultimately gets his in Chicago the next year, but I always kind of thought that was kind of hilarious. And Chris Osgood, nice goaltending performance. You guys said he's way overrated or terrible whenever I bring him up as a good goalie,
listen,
but
I
at least, hey, I have a chance to
that's
defend him now, so I'm
He's
happy
no
about
Grant Fuhr, that's for sure.
that. Oh, he's at least 5 times better than Grant Fuhr.
Yes.
Beta, I've noticed you've stayed quiet during our picks. Is that because you now feel kind of intimidated? Like you took the obvious first, and now the rest of your list is kind of a little bit of a bummy
I
list?
was just being respectful.
No, now Beta's just
hearing you pour your heart out about why you like these picks. What, should I have been slandering them or what?
No slander, but I mean, it's very, it's kind of sketch how you're just staying quiet over there in your Phillies jersey or your Flyers jersey.
Yeah.
I hope there's
Beta's just
support.
like
Beta's
doing the
math
upset that we
in my
just took
head
his
now.
other 2 picks.
Yeah, those are my second and third round picks, guys. Little chart there. No particular order, of course, because I kind of made this before we knew the draft order. But as we can see from this chart, objectively in front of us, I'm not surprised that I went as like first round pick. Obviously, it's a little bit more of a passion pick. Like Derek's got sentimentality there for his game. Robbie picked a game that we all remember. I vividly remember where I was. Game 7 of the 2009 Cup Final. I was at a buddy's house. Shout out to Matt Chamberlain, Timmins. But of course, I'm not surprised that I reached as far back as I could for my first pick, and I have the oldest game of the 3 on the board so far.
I feel like that might be a reoccurring trend.
I was based on my picks, it's gonna remain the oldest game on our list here. Although I tried hard to dive into like some old school, like original 6 era stuff. There's a couple of games that I found that were all like some like late 1950s, early 1960s, not necessarily important games by any stretch, but I was just like, let's just try to find maybe the oldest game that we possibly can.
Shout out. So great first round for us boys. I like where we're headed. Second round, I'll start us off. And it's going to be game 6 of the Western Conference quarterfinals. 2006, Red Wings, Oilers. In my opinion, the greatest upset of all time. You got a bunch of great Hall of Famers in it. It's a great game, great series, beautiful period of time because 2006 is kind of a weird time because like we're finally getting hockey back. The Oilers made a huge splash getting Pronger when no one expected it. So there's so many different storylines. They're just kind of a ragtag bunch of grinders essentially. They don't really have a superstar player. Rolison plays out of his mind, but the Red Wings are kind of the exact opposite, where they're just littered with superstars. One of the greatest teams ever assembled. And it's just a great game in my opinion. It's a great era of hockey. I love the 2000s of hockey, even though it's kind of, it's not quite as violent as the 90s. It's not quite as high flying as the 2010s, but it's kind of a great timepiece era where you kind of see how we're fleshing the game out and moving from one era and one generation of hockey to the next. I love the game. I love what it represents. And I just love all the story behind it. And I love its place in history. It's one of the greatest upsets of all time. And obviously that kind of gives it away. But I mean, at the end of the day, you gotta give them the due. And shout out Smitty.
Showing absolutely no love to the Red Wings at all during this, are you?
No, absolutely not. But I will say,
you went with every game.
I want to see as much Nick Lindstrom as possible. And plus, it's great because...
But you want to see him lose.
Yeah. Yes, I do. He's won so much, damn it. They can lose. It's okay.
Oh, the Red Wings are losing,
I just picture,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Robbie just went through just scrolled through every 2000s Red Wing game and found the 3 games that they lost, and that's the games that we're doing.
Exactly.
Robbie's going to round out this draft by picking the 2002 final where Artur Zerbe had a great game against the Wings to give the Hurricanes some hope.
No, the Red Wings won that game though. Robbie didn't pick it.
No, they didn't sweep the series. He's going to pick one of the games that the Hurricanes won in that series.
I'll have something more on that point when it's my pick again.
Great.
All right. I think it's Derek. You're
Hey,
up next, right?
I am. So we are. There's going to be a lot of red teams. I feel like in this during the next 10 episodes, we're going to see a lot of red. Um,
Great color.
I though am sticking with. It is a great color. It's the color of Canada, of our nation. And I'm going to continue with that theme. So I'm going to go with an Olympic game, but we're going to go kind of slightly weird. I'm going to go to the 1994 Olympic gold medal game between Canada and Sweden, which is that really weird era where they switched off from doing the Olympics every 4 years in the same year as like the Winter Olymp or as the Summer Olympics. So it's 2 years since the previous Olympic tournament. You get that NHL players aren't quite allowed at the tournament yet, but between Sweden and Canada, there's still some pretty big names. And realistically, what this game kind of comes down to when you do watch it back is Paul Kariya versus Peter Forsberg. In just that little sliver of time between like Kariya playing collegiate, Forsberg dominating the World Juniors, and them becoming future Hall of Famers and absolutely dominating the NHL as well during the 90s and 2000s. This game also probably has one of, if not the most famous shootouts of all time, which is kind of interesting to look back on, especially since it's probably before a time before everybody despised shootouts anyways. But yeah, like looking back on it too, like the rosters, because there were no professionals still allowed at that time. The NHL wasn't going yet. So it's like Canada, you kind of have like Paul Kariya, Peter Nedved, Corey Hirsch is some very recognizable names, but also a lot of names that, maybe aren't as recognizable, that, certainly don't have the longevity of guys that ended up with Hall of Fame careers. And Sweden kind of counters with guys like Håkan Loob and Peter Forsberg. So there's always there's a lot of big names there too, and Mats Naslund. That was the third name that I wanted to say that my brain blanked on for a second. But and those guys obviously on the backs of this too would eventually become the some of the original members of the triple
Yes.
gold club and stuff. So it is kind of a big game. It has an absolutely unreal finish that occurs well before we decided about 20 years later how much everybody hates shootouts. So we'll throw it back to a time where shootouts were actually fun, and this is probably one of the better ones.
Back when shootouts actually meant something.
Mm-hmm. And
back when
featured on the
shootouts meant
postage
something,
stamp.
man.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the pick.
Yeah, exactly. Like this, it was a big deal.
I like the pick. It's a hard. I'm not going to say it because it's going to give it away. But I always enjoy.
And Robbie's got some thoughts on this game apparently.
I always enjoy kind of, especially on the national side. I love watching big time players before they were famous, before they were like full time NHL players. Like what you mentioned, like seeing Forsberg before he became Forsberg, like seeing Kariya before he was Paul Kariya, like as we know him now as Hall of Famers. I always love seeing that because you can always get a sense of what they fell back on in terms of like tendencies as kids and what they thought would work then and how their games kind of matured now. I love that. I love watching that stuff. So I'm excited to watch this game.
Yeah, and the young kids, but also from the opposite. You got Håkan Loob and Mats Naslund, who are almost resurfacing the North American line. Yeah, well, Loob left the NHL in '89 after he won the Cup with the Flames, and then dominated the Swedish league still into the '90s. And Naslund the same. After 1990, after 8 years with the Habs, he went back to Sweden, and then he finished his career back with the Boston Bruins in the NHL in a shortened lockout 94-95 season, but no one really remembers that. So it's going to be great to see the young studs like Forsberg and Kariya, but also with these old guys that just reminded us from a decade prior in the NHL what they were all about, their greatness.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, and I think too the cool thing about the game, kind of when I kind of skimmed through it again while we were prepping for this episode, and I think one of the really cool things about that game is basically every player that we mention is like a key factor in the game. Like as Robbie said, it's cool to watch Paul Kariya and Peter Forsberg kind of before they became Paul Kariya and Peter Forsberg. And this game is really just Paul Kariya versus Peter Forsberg. And then, a couple of the old school, like veteran Swedish guys that Beta just mentioned, like Naslund and Loob, like they came to play in this game too. So it's all like maybe there's not a ton of recognizable names, but the ones that you do recognize show up, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Cool. Good pick, Derek. Good pick.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Beta, what do you got for us?
All right, yeah, ending this second round here. So I guess I have back-to-back picks, which is a relief so that I can get I mean, yeah, you are right. I guess I was mistaken thinking that we would all want to do the same
Oh,
games.
you're super worried that I was going to take one of your games.
Well, I was hoping you would. I was hoping we'd all be like, yeah, we're going to do it. But instead, it's even better because
I didn't pull up
things
the
that mean a lot to you, to the
highlight
heart on the
reel
inside.
before this.
Especially, every game but the Summit Series were games that we were all alive for. Mind you, I wasn't born 3 months after the Olympics in '94, but every other game is a game that we were in the world, at least, except for the Summit Series. So it's nice to see a different flavor of sentimentality for games that mean something to you, and recent classics too. I guess you could say that 2006 Detroit Edmonton game, that's celebrating its 15th anniversary later this spring, and that definitely is a classic moment in NHL history that I feel like now it's appropriate to start calling it a classic. It wouldn't have been maybe a few years ago. It was still too new. But
Crazy, right?
the new generation of hockey, my friends, and we will pioneer this echelon of honoring games in the early noughties. That being said, my next pick we were also alive for, albeit we definitely didn't tune into it. We were too young. This is a mid-'90s classic, also involving the Detroit Red Wings. It is Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinal. Steve Yzerman's bullet, one of the greatest camera angle goals of all time against the St. Louis Blues in double overtime at the Joe Louis Arena. That was the season where the Detroit Red Wings set the record with 131 regular season points. Well, they didn't set the record. The Habs had 132 and 77, but they set the record with 62 regular season wins. I should correct myself. Yeah, they went 62, 13, and whatever's left, 7. But this is a game that features a lot of Hall of Famers, and we haven't really done anything. In fact, I was just looking at all the episodes we had done. We only did one with the Red Wings, and that was a 1965 playoff loss to the Blackhawks, where we kind of honored Ted Lindsay, Gordie Howe. But we showed no love to the Red Wings until now with these 3 games from the 90s and 2000s. You got
now we're showing all the love to the Red Wings.
Osgood is in this game. Osgood's young, like 13 years before the game that we're talking about with the Penguins in 2009. And then on the Blues, you got Gretzky, who was there just for a few months. In the trade deadline, they sent him from the Kings, and he played like 20 regular season games, and then as many as they did in the playoffs, 14 games in the playoffs. I think they went full 7 both series, maybe not, but full 7 definitely in the second round. And you got Hull, of course. Brett Hull's still thugging there. Grant Fuhr, who was hurt in this particular game, but he started the record 79 regular season games that season. And John Casey, his backup, had to shine big, and he definitely does. Fantastic players. Craig McTavish, no bucket, last player to do it in this game. And it's great to see him out there with the hair in 96. So, yeah, that's a true classic game. And it just is – there's so much that it means to you for Detroit because they hadn't won a cup since 1955. And they go on to win back-to-back in 97, 98. And even though they don't do it this season, it's great to see that energy that it's their season to lose with the 62 wins. And Yzerman as a captain, his 13th season in the league, it's great to see him really excited about the prospects of winning, finally having a winning team, having a dominant franchise. And yeah, just the Blues were a mean team themselves. Tony Twist. So that is my second pick to close out the second round. I'll do a little screen share here. This is the update. Once again, no particular order. Seeing a lot of noughties and 90s, and then the one game in the 70s.
So I like the fact that we've got games here that all mean something, that we're all familiar with, that have players that we're all in love with, that we all love. I think so far we've got a pretty awesome lineup of games.
Yeah, and we got one more round to go, I suppose.
Robbie's also like, and how are we going to ruin that now?
Hey, I'm just glad because I knew I know you guys aren't going to choose the one that I'm going to pick to end this off. But I didn't think we'd get so many 90s, 2000s games. Like I thought for sure you guys were going to go back way older, especially you, Beta. Like I thought you were just going to stick in your wheelhouse within like the 50s and the 70s. I thought you were just going to stay there.
But I was thinking, maybe we'll do the 2010 Vancouver gold medal women's game. But I think you kind of got to think on your feet. And since I have so many other ones that have been unclaimed, I'm probably not going to pick that one in the third round, unfortunately, even though we will have to do a women's game soon for sure. But I kind of had a feeling at least one of your three picks would have been a game we remember vividly actually experiencing as kids, which is great. That being said, can I go into my third round then?
Sure.
You ready for that? So yeah, I will scale it back a little bit since it's unclaimed, I think, and it's available to see in full, albeit not as long and not as they cut a little bit, like kind of just between whistles, but all the good stuff is there, and it's exactly what we need. But the first game, to my knowledge, that I remember hosting the fellas to watch because I was so excited about it. A couple of years ago, celebrated its 40th anniversary. That is the infamous Too Many Men on the Ice game, Game 7, semifinal, Boston, Montreal. Don Cherry's final game coaching the Boston Bruins. The Habs. I mean, it's not biased saying, oh, I had to do a Habs game. 1979 obviously kind of bookends a very famous chapter in the NHL, which I like to say basically from the start of post-Original Six expansion, 67 to 79, where at the end of the season, in the offseason, they bring in the 4 new teams with the WHA merger and Gretzky's debut season in NHL. That kind of is a chapter in NHL history. So this is like the last great game of that era. It's also the last great game of the Habs dynasty, where they four-peated 76, 77, 78, 79. Wonderful array of Hall of Famers, like pretty much just about like double-digit Hall of Famers on their roster. I'll have to go over that, but at least 8 for sure. And this is just an amazing game at the Forum. I know we've done a few games at the Forum, but none of this era. I mean, we did the 75 New Year's Eve game against the Horses, as Kirill calls them, the Red Army, CSKA Moscow. And that was kind of that gave birth to that dynasty. And then this is, the end of those 4-season run. This is the end of that dynasty. So we get to kind of take a look at inside Ken Dryden's mind as he wrote the game about, are we going to be able to do this? There's a lot of pressure on us. We're going to crumble eventually. And it was damn near this game here where they were trailing the whole game. They were trailing by 2 at the end of the second period. And then they tied it, and it was an outstanding comeback. Guy Lafleur's game. We've got to show some love to Guy. And then the Bruins go up late in the game, and then something happens, of course. Well, too many men on the ice. And we also get to see the marvelous goaltending of the aptly named Gilles Gilbert. So I'm quite looking forward to that. No bias just because I'm a Habs fan, but it is a classic game, and it also gives a little bit more diversity to the range. I mean, 72 Summit Series and 79, a lot of shit happened between those years, so it's not like I'm just like 70s hockey all day. But it's another game that kind of we must honor, a good decade and a half before we were infants. So
it's a game I thought we would have covered a long time ago, to be honest with you, because it's such a big game. You're a big Habs fan. We all fell in love with Gilles Gilbert because of that game. Like, that was the one game that started this whole thing of us hating Ken Dryden, right? That's the game. Ken just doesn't show up.
You guys hate Ken Dryden.
I love Ken Dryden.
But yeah, I like the pick. I'm sounding like a broken record. I like all these picks. I think that's an important game. I know, seeing a young Don Cherry will be entertaining. I'm sure we'll have words for him. Whether they be negative or positive, I don't know where you guys sit on that, but yeah, I think it's a great rivalry. It's a great another staple in NHL history. Like, that's just a classic game. That's the pinnacle of a classic game. Classic moment, classic game, controversial call.
Crowd is rocking. It is.
Crowd is rocking. I'm looking forward to it. What say you, Derek? You have the next pick as well, too.
Well, I was going to say, this is how I knew that there was no way we were going to pick the same games, because me and Robbie are not picking a game the Habs win.
Exactly.
It's like, it's not going to happen. Beta, you were safe from the get-go. Robbie was the only person I was worried about, because I'd be like, hey, the Leafs, maybe Canada. Robbie likes Canada. It's fine. Yeah. Maybe. But, yeah, there's no way I was picking Habs games. I went – I hear everything that Robbie is saying about how much he likes all these picks because of the historical context for them and how much we remember them. I went weird as hell with this pick. And admittedly, it's a game I haven't actually watched yet. So I'm kind of also just intrigued to kind of do that. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet either, but I stumbled across it. I did a little bit of research into it, and because it's just so weird that I was like, we should just watch it for fun anyways. If it sucks, I'm sorry, Robbie, I've ruined your streak, but hey, we'll see what happens. Beta is 100% right. There was a lot of things in the hockey world that happened in the 70s. One of those was the Russian Soviet teams coming over to play, professional club games. We did one of the more famous ones where they play the Montreal Canadiens in the epic New Year's Eve tie. Another thing in the 70s, though, was the WHA as a rival league that started up to, in place, to challenge the NHL. They paid, players kind of probably way too much money. There was, a lot of competition between the two leagues. And, a lot of big names jumped ship from the NHL to the WHA during that era as the two leagues were competing. So that is kind of the intersection of where I went. One, because we haven't done a WHA game, and they're all it's kind of just a crazy period of hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And two, because this game is weird. So I went with the 1977 Super Series. So the Soviet Red Army versus the New England Whalers in game one of the Super Series, obviously, Red Army versus WHA team. The Red Army, apparently, in my brief research to this, arrived from Russia like the day of this game. So they all think it's like 3 a.m. to them, and it looks like they think it's 3 a.m. to them, which is kind of weird. The New England Whalers, so you get the New England part. So before they actually became the Hartford Whalers and had the really cool logo and the super famous iconic brand, so you get to watch them with their jersey that is nowhere near as cool as that. Kind of before that showed up. The roster for the New England Whalers during the 1976-77 season includes guys like Dave Keon, Pie McKenzie, as well as all three of the Hanson brothers from Slapshot fame. They are all on this roster. This game also, yeah, they're on the roster. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. I went weird with this one. This is a weird pick.
That's great.
And then from what I did kind of watch of this game, when I did find it, there's also the amazing image of Vladislav Tretiak pulling a puck out of the net while the stadium just blares the Brass Bonanza song, which I could not stop laughing at. So I was like, we're going to do this game because that is the most 70s thing I have ever seen. When you get to Tretiak pulling the puck out of the net, Brass Bonanza's playing, they pan to the bench of celebrating Whalers, and you see the guys from Slapshot. So that is so I kind of went a little bit off the board with this game, but I don't have either one of you guys actually watched this, because I haven't either, which is part of the reason why I think this could be fun to watch.
I've never watched it. I'm quite excited about it, though. That's a great pick.
Yeah, I think we needed a game like this, though.
Mm-hmm.
A game that kind of breaks up the seriousness, because all of these kind of have like a very serious tone to them. Lots on the line, ton at stake. I think to have a game like this where we can watch three Hanson brothers try and keep up with the CCCP. Derek's Communist Ways show once again. Loves those Russians. Loves this era of Russia as well. Hey.
I do. Yeah,
Derek would.
But this
all over Valerie.
I think. Yeah, no. Well, that's the Soviet roster in this game is actually really good. Like all the big guns are there. Yakashev's there, Maltsev's there, Harlamov's there.
Yakashev's obviously played with CSKA in this game. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, Yakashev's in this game too. Yep.
Zero surprise here that you had to throw in your boys from the Red Army.
I had to, but you guys haven't seen. I know the result of this game, but I don't know if you guys necessarily do. It's something, man. It is an interesting game. So we'll keep it that way, man. We'll dive into it. I think so far, if I'm correct, every single game we have picked has a red team in it. So I'm just curious now if Robbie is going to round this out with going with, we just went all red everywhere. So Robbie, I think though also in the theme, Robbie is probably about to pick a game in which Team Canada plays the Detroit Red Wings. But
I don't know if that's ever happened, but that would be kind of cool to do. No, I didn't go that route. I didn't go that route with my final pick. I went the route of where the heart is. And the heart is with the Leaf. And it's not the red leaf, it's the blue leaf. And it's my favorite player, the greatest player in Leafs history. It's Matt Sundin's 500 goal game. No one's ever scored 500 goals in such style. No one's done it the same way.
I was going to pick this game, but I couldn't find a full game. So I avoided it, but that's actually hilarious. I was going to pick this game too.
I found a full
So
game.
I guess Beta, I'm kind of wrong, but
You
found it? Because I'm super psyched if you found the full game.
I got the full game. And they played the Calgary Flames, so the red keeps going. Kipper a net, but Sundin's just a stud. The best, in my opinion, the best Swedish player of all time. Best Leafs player of all time. Just a sentimental game, just like Derek's first pick. It's an entertaining game, high-scoring game, ends in spectacular fashion. It's storybook ending to it as well. And like I said, no one's ever scored 500 goals in the same way that Matt Sundin did it. And the greatest franchise in hockey history, the greatest player in that franchise's history. Let's go out with a bang. Let's end this draft with a bang, boys. And that's what we've done here. Leafs Nation.
Yeah, and knowing how Matt Sundin scores that goal too, it's a bang.
It's a bang.
Yeah, no, that is an unreal pick. Yeah, I was going to pick that too. Well, weird, because I just spent the whole time chirping Beta for like, there's no way we're going to pick the same game. And I guess ultimately we didn't pick the same game, but I only didn't pick it because I couldn't find it. So if you found it, I'm stoked, man, because that is, like I said, like as a Leaf fan, especially as a Leaf fan around our age, I feel like that's probably the best Leaf game in our lifetime, realistically.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you got a couple of the like the early, like maybe a couple of like the 93 playoff run, I guess, but
yeah, like 02.
But it's like, yeah, like the memory is not quite there for the 93 playoff run though. But yeah, 02 Leafs are another good one, but that is like the one game that I'm like, I feel like we could, like, I don't even need to watch that game. I don't need to do prep. I'm good. We could record that episode right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. Beta's going to hate it, which is all the more entertaining.
No, yeah, exactly. That's it. There we go. And yeah, so we go 9 for 9, at least featuring one red team. So that's
look at Robbie's picks there. Like he
loved this too. The graph is red. It's outstanding. So it worked out.
Meant to be.
You didn't pick a Pete Peters game though, which I feel like at least Robbie picked a Leaf game wearing the Leaf jersey. You didn't pick a Flyer game. You didn't pick a Pete Peters game. Like, you gotta coordinate everything.
The best Pete Peters game. Well, you know what? Pete Peters, we showed love to in the episode with the 1980 All-Star game. Got a little Pete Peters there. I think he actually lost the game for the Campbell Conference, but that was the season in question, 1980, where they had the 35 unbeaten streak. Pat Quinn as coach. Yeah, I mean, what were your honorable mentions? What were your reserve games, if you don't mind sharing those? Because, like I said, I was tempted to maybe do the women's gold medal game 2010. I was tempted to do a Flyers game, not a Pete Peters game, but a 74 Flyers game, a really, really rough one, classic Broad Street Bullies against the Rangers. I even considered the Lumley game, like I said, in 59, as well as a couple more international games, but I felt I'm happy I didn't go through with those because we do have, 3 out of the 9 games are international. Oh, no. Well, I guess you can even call the CSKA a half game. So 3.5 games of international hockey. I was thinking maybe the 87 Canada Cup game 3, maybe the 76 Canada Cup game 2. But we'll save those for another season, gentlemen, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Derek. I'll let you ring off your honorable mentions if you'd like.
Yeah, I was super confident that nobody else would pick the same games. Like I said, I did think of the Matt Sundin 500th goal game. I'm happy Robbie picked that. I'm kind of jealous that he did, that he was actually able to find it, because now I kind of want him to send it to me so I can watch the game tonight. But the Leafs actually do play tonight, so I'll probably just watch that anyways.
They're going to get clapped by the Sens, so you may as well feel good about your franchise by watching Sundin do something good.
Definitely.
Why is he on this podcast, Robbie? Why did we invite him to this?
I don't know.
Either way, I did have 2 games that I was like, yeah, I did have two games that I was in the event that somebody did pick something else I was gonna go back to. So I went with 1993 Jets Nordiques, partly because I think it's cool to have two teams that in a way don't really exist anymore to watch. So in order to watch that game. But also I went with the game where Timu Solani sets the record for most goals by a rookie. So obviously there's a lot of historical significance there, plus probably one of, if not one of the best goal celebrations of all time, at least one of the more famous goal celebrations of all time. So that's where I was kind of leaning to that. And this other game that I was thinking was I was actually going to the 2003 Oilers versus Habs, and I was going to do the Heritage Classic game, just the first official NHL game held outdoors. So um, it's back there was just something like I know they've done a lot of outdoor games since then, but there's something about that one that was just like it's more it seems more outdoorsy than the other ones. It's cool, like just watch the intro and it's like you can literally see like the players are just like the breath and the steam coming off. The goalies are wearing toques. Like they didn't even have them in vintage jerseys. They were just like, just the Habs and the Oilers and the jerseys you wear right now. What do we need throwback jerseys for? You guys are just going to go outside and play in minus 20 weather, the way hockey was initially created. So there's all that kind of fanciness of like, it just kind of, as far as outdoor games go, like I know I mentioned kind of like the shootout used to be kind of cool at one point, and I think back in 2003 too, like outdoor games were actually really awesome. And then the NHL kind of oversaturated them a little bit, and also held them in some climates where you probably don't necessarily want to have an outdoor game, or the outdoor game doesn't hit you in like the heartstrings the same way as it does in like a place like Edmonton would.
Yeah.
So those were my two. Robbie, did you have any backups?
So like I said, I had three, and me and Derek were kind of on the same wavelength because I also had the Heritage Classic. Nice. I feel like, so that would have been a cool game to do. My other two.
So wait a minute. Let me stop you guys right there, because the Habs win that game. So you said you would never pick a game that the Habs.
Well, technically, we didn't pick it. So.
But you were thinking about it.
Yeah,
the wheels were turning. The wheels were turning.
Exactly. There's a loophole.
I was
so many
pick
games
it,
you could have
picked. I was like,
the Habs win. I know that shit. Let's go.
The other two.
We didn't pick it.
The other two that I had, and that's probably why I didn't put it on my main list, was because the dirty, filthy Habs did win that game. So that's exactly why I didn't choose it. Yeah. But the other games that I chose. Leafs Sens Game 7, 2003, 2004, or 2004, I guess. We shellacked them in that game. It's kind of, I guess it's the final of that stretch of series that we play them, the Battle of Ontario. Lalime played like absolute shit. It was tremendous to watch as a kid. Loved every second of it. There was so much tension between those two teams, especially in the early 2000s, that we haven't been able to recapture. So maybe this year that we do that. But I love that game. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Sens fire their head coach after this game, and then they ship Lalime off as well. So it was a franchise changer for the Sens, although they kind of got the last laugh when they got to go to the Cup Finals a few years later. But hey, we don't need to talk about that. And then my final one that I chose was Canada-USA World Juniors 2007. The famous shootout, again, another shootout game. Taves, I think Price was the goalie in that year, so it was kind of a classic, special, one of the first World Juniors that I watched as a kid and really got invested into it, and one of the all-time great Canadian international hockey moments ever as well, and kind of gave birth to the legend that is, Johnny Taves. So I mean, good for him, good for us, great picks all around. I think we did a hell of a job. Good job, lads. Yeah. I think even our backups would have been good to do.
I was going to say, that's going to be like the worst part when people see this and they start commenting on it and be like, all your backup picks, we should do those episodes because they'll sound more entertaining or something anyways. But, maybe that's something we could add on too, is just, hey, if anybody's got any ideas for an episode, send it our way. And, maybe we'll throw it in after.
Absolutely.
Because there's like I said to you guys, there's no way. I was so confident there'd be no way that we would pick 3 of the same games because there is 70 years of televised hockey. And apparently we got pretty close to picking a couple of the same games. Well, we got close. But we didn't. So I mean, hey, if anybody else does have like an idea for a game that you want us to watch and do a little classic puck review style too, just let us know.
Beautiful. Well, I mean, should be a couple of great months, boys. Big thank you to our listeners once again. CPR, Classic Puck Review. Give us your support. We enjoy doing this. We love doing it, and we love getting it together. For Beta, for Brissett, I'm Robbie. Thanks again, guys. Great draft. And tune into the next one. We look forward to doing all these games.